When I was little, I spent a lot of time at the park. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she would take me and my friends there almost every day during the summer, and if we were lucky, she'd buy us each something from the ice cream truck. It was one of those lucky days when this story takes place. I was 6 or 7, and my mom had taken me and 3 girls from the neighborhood to play at the park. It was sunny and warm, and pretty much one of those absolutely idyllic days you see in the movies. Everybody was in a good mood, my mom included. When we heard the ice cream truck approaching, she gave us all some money to buy treats, opting to hang back and chat with a friend. After all, we weren't leaving her sight, so nothing bad could happen. The ice cream truck wasn't the one we usually saw, but that wasn't unheard of. There were quite a few that drove around town, and they'd all compete to hit the park crowd. This one looked kind of run down, but when you're 7, I guess it doesn't matter. Ice cream is ice cream. My friends and I raced to get in line, and we were delighted to be the first ones there. The ice cream man seemed just as excited to see us. "I have a special treat for you pretty girls today," he said. He told us as we handed him our money, silencing our request for our usual favorites. We were all skeptical, but he kept insisting that his special treat would be much yummier than any ice cream we'd had before, so we all shrugged and agreed. Like I said, ice cream is ice cream. The man disappeared back into the truck for a few minutes, and we could hear him giggling. Now I'd find it creepy, but at the time we all thought it was funny. A few minutes later, he handed us what looked like ordinary ice cream sundaes. "I promised they were extra good, so don't waste any," he told us with a wink. As we started walking back to my mom, the ice cream truck left quickly. That was when I remember thinking something was off, because the trucks would usually stay around much longer, getting as much business from all the kids they could. That didn't stop me from eating the ice cream though. But as I was eating it, I noticed that something tasted off. Soon, my friends were all complaining that our ice cream tasted funny. My mom had also noticed how quickly the truck had left, so she insisted on tasting mine, just to be safe. I'll never forget how quickly she marched us out of that park that day, or how horrified she looked. At the time, I didn't understand why she was so upset. It wasn't until years later that she told me. The ice cream had tasted like semen. The ice cream truck guy had masturbated into our sundaes. Horror story part 2, realizing your mother recognizes the taste of semen. The police questioned my friends and I about the man in the truck, but none of us were able to give a good description. I think they must have tested the DNA in the ice cream, but I don't really remember much from the whole investigation, because my mom shielded me from all of it. I know, however, that they never caught the guy. This happened to me about 15 to 16 years ago when I was displaced in Las Vegas after Hurricane Katrina occurred. I was 9 years old at the time, and I live in this cul-de-sac of townhomes. Without sharing all the details, this was the first time I ever had a friend who lived in my neighborhood. So he and I would often hang out from the early mornings to about 11 p.m. or so. One night, I can't remember how late, but it was pretty dark outside. While we were hanging out, there was this ice cream truck that was passing around. It had turned on the typical music you hear when a truck's approaching. But when I got near it, it began to light up and play the music. My friend and I, whom was the same age as myself, approached the truck to see what it had to offer. I decided I didn't want any ice cream, likely because I didn't have any money to buy any, but my friend wanted some. He explained what he wanted to the guy, when the guy suggested that he get in the truck and pick out which flavor, and that he would give him the ice cream for free. For some strange reason, my friend was actually going to get in the truck when I yanked his arm and screamed something. Immediately after, we ran to our parents and explained to them what happened. After this, we'd have to be inside by the time the sun set. I can't say for sure what would have occurred, but I'm thankful neither of us got into that truck. This was the one time that my parents let me stay home, unsupervised, for an entire day without a much older babysitter. It all started one hot, boring afternoon in the suburbs. I was spending the day with some of the neighborhood kids while our parents were at work. Although I was only 10 years old, my parents let me spend the day with two girls that lived across the street, because the oldest of the two sisters was 13. The other, my best friend Sarah at the time, was 9 years old. We were laying out on the trampoline, playing the "What do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do?" game. Then we heard that exciting little jingle in the distance, the ice cream man. We all started scrambling out the door after the older sister, Tammy, who had the money. We rushed down the street to the waiting ice cream man, joining the group of boys who were outside playing lacrosse at the time. As soon as we walked up and saw the driver, I got an eerie feeling. Something just seemed off about him. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid, considering he had a massively wretched scar down the side of his face, but he didn't stop smiling. It was a sinister type of smile, coupled with an unrelenting gaze fixed right on us. We quickly bought our ice cream and bubblegum and left. As we were walking back towards our cul-de-sac, Bossy Tammy ordered us to stop and sit on our neighbor's driveway and eat our ice cream. She said, "Look, I've heard stories on the news of these guys stealing kids, so let's just sit here on Miss Day's driveway until he drives away." Up until this point, Tammy had a history of telling us bogus stories to try and scare us. So Sarah started whining. On any other day, I would have agreed with her, but I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was off. The ice cream truck then continued towards us, driving incredibly slow around our cul-de-sac. He was still smiling, and his eyes were still trained on three of us. When he passed us, he even winked. As soon as he disappeared around the corner, we made a mad dash for Tammy and Sarah's house. We locked the doors and then fled to her parents' bedroom. A few minutes go by, and we had all calmed down a bit and had settled onto her parents' bed to watch some terrible daytime TV, like Jerry Springer or something. At that point, out of her parents' window, that faces in towards the cul-de-sac on the second floor, we saw the ice cream truck stopped outside of Miss Day's house. We didn't know how long he had been there, considering he didn't have the jingle playing. He wasn't parked there very long after we saw, and eventually he slowly drove away. By this time, we were all hyperventilating, but before we could take a minute to recover, he drove by a third time. This time, however, we saw him get out of the truck in front of Miss Day's house and walked up towards the front door, examining the outside of the house. He had a pad of paper out and began to jot some things down. We all started panicking at this point, as Tammy yelled out, "He's writing down the address." He returned to the ice cream wagon, and as soon as he started to turn the truck around, he looked up and saw us in the window. We hit the floor like we were under fire, and we watched him out of a side window. He stopped the truck in front of Tammy and Sarah's house and jotted more down on his pad of paper. As soon as he drove away at the time, we saw our neighbor arrive home from work. In a complete frenzy, we ran over to her, knowing she worked at the police station, and told her what happened. Ultimately, they found the guy, along with a notepad of descriptions of each of us. The addresses of M's, Day's house, and Tammy and Sarah's house, as well as plans for when he was going to come back for us. The guy was a registered child sex offender with a warrant out for his arrest. I'm not sure how he got in that position to be selling ice cream to children in the first place, but he was. So now every time I hear the ice cream wagon jingle, I feel nauseous and unnerved.